60 အထူးတရားစခန်းမှာ၄ပိုင်းတစ်ပိုင်းတော့ပြီးသွားပြီပေါ့ပြီးသွားတဲ့အပိုင်းမှာလည်းပဲလာရောက်အထုတ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဟာအလုတ်တက်ဖို့ရအတွက်ပေါ့လေခြေကငါစပြီးတော့တဖြည်းဖြည်းမိပြီးတော့ပြောနေပါတယ်ပြည့်တော့မပြည့်စုံသေးပါဘူးလက်တွေ့အရာသုံးစကားနဲ့အခြေခံရှုမှတ်ပုံတွေပြောပြပြီးလို့ရှိရင်စာပေကဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေစာပေနဲ့ရှင်းပြီးတော့ပြဖို့တော့ဘုန်းကြီးတို့မှာတောင်းရှိပါတယ်စာပေနဲ့တိုက်မပြဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ထင်တာတွေလျှောက်ပြီးတော့ပြောနေတယ်ဆိုတော့တက်ရောက်ပါတယ်သို့သော၄ပိုင်းတစ်ပိုင်းပထမပိုင်းမှာတော့နည်းနည်းတော့ထပ်ပြီးတော့ပြောရအောင်ဟောပါပဲဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့တချို့ယောဂီတွေတရင်နှစ်ပတ်သာကြော်သွားတယ်ကောင်းကောင်းမှတ်တတ်သေးတာတွေတွေ့ရပါတယ်အမြဲတမ်းသတိရှိရမယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလေးလည်းအားနေနေပါသေးတယ်အားနေနေတာလေးတွေ့တော့ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ကတော့အားဖြည့်ပေးရတဲ့သဘောပါပဲနဲနေတဲ့အားကိုမရအောင်ရှိနေတဲ့အားကိုလည်းတမအောင်ပေါ့လေဖြည့်ပေးရပါတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ကတော့ဒါပေမဲ့တချို့ယောဂီကတော့ဒုံရင်ပဲရှိနေပါသေးတယ်တရင်နှစ်ပါးအားထုတ်လို့မှစိတ်ဆူဆီးမှုသမာဓိလေးတွေမရသေးဘူးယုံနာပိုက်ချသိမှုတွေပေါ့လေအစာပိုင်းညာလေးတော့မှမဖြစ်သေးဘူးဆိုရင်တော့သိတော့ညှော်လင့်ချက်မရှိဘူးနောက်ဉာဏ်နဲ့၃ပိုင်းမှာပေါ့လေဆက်အားထုတ်လို့သိညှော်လင့်ချက်မရှိဘူးသို့တော့သူတို့ကစပြီးတော့ပြင်နိုင်လို့ရှိရင်ကောင်းတယ်ညွှန်ကြားချက်တွေကိုတိတိကျကျနားထောင်ပြီးတော့အလုံးလုံးတဲ့ခါမှာလည်းတိတိကျကျလုပ်နိုင်သေးလို့ရှိရင်တော့မျှော်လင့်ချက်ရှိနေပါသေးတယ်အခုဟောနေတာတွေဟာလက်တွေ့တရားတွေပါနားထောင်ကောင်းရုံဟောတဲ့တရားတွေမဟုတ်ပါဘူးလုတ်တော့အောင်သိချာချမ်းသာဟောနေတာလုတ်တော့ဟောနေတဲ့ဟာတွေကိုသေးချာချာကိုကအလုံးလုံးဖို့လာတာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့လုတ်တော့အောင်စူးစက်စိတ်နားထောင်မှုရည်ကြည့်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါဘုန်းကြီးကထပ်ပြီးတော့တိုက်တွန်းပါတယ်ဒါမှလည်းလာရရုံနှံ့မှာပါပဲ
The 60-day retreat is 1/4 over. 1/4 of it is finished. And because people came here not knowing how to do the practice, Sayadawgyi has been speaking bit by bit, day by day, and his talking about the practice is not finished yet. He's been talking basically about how to do the practice, and it's his job to explain what the texts say. Without relying on the texts, if he just speaks, it will amount to saying just what he thinks. So he has spoken relying on the texts. And in the remaining 3/4 of the retreat, to some extent he will have to repeat himself, because some yogis still aren't able to practice well yet. He said that one has to always have sati, and he sees that some yogis are weak in this area, so he has to speak so as to boost this up. He has to strengthen this, help strengthen this. But some yogis really haven't even collected their minds yet, haven't even developed concentration. And if the yogi has not been able to see the difference between mind and matter, discern nama and rupa at this stage, then there's not much hope for the yogi to progress in the remaining 3/4 of the retreat. But there is hope. If the yogis listen carefully and then work according to the instructions, work exactly, then there's hope for yogis to improve from this point on. So this is a practical Dhamma. It's not just for listening to. It's for applying. So if you came here because you didn't know how to do the practice, then it's appropriate to listen carefully to what is being said in the talks. And only then will one get the benefit of coming here.
Poiru de Dweha Ninganaga Lare Pogurigo Saya Anene Nujani Ramho Fusara Horonia Poirua Jinyage Babi Asha Swimio Kabat Swimio Sansara Swimio Swimio Tonda Nata Dore Poguri Lucent down Mahasi Sayadaw Boapisigo Tanshi Sayadaw Dhamma lets on volley. Here are the baby or Dhamma swim you in to such a matter. Let's on Goni Peter Saya and New Jaram Hope to the Wom Tower. Swim you in shining a Peter. You to pay that less on Peter solution. The show less on the Mammy do them, my volley. They had a less on your shiva. Peter, a don't shall be of Yogya on volley, take the other less on your shiva. Chechi, a don't share the less on your shiva. To the deep town, Dhamma less on Garo. Chechi, don't chaya less on ma. Yamya no period less on Yamya no can you be ro. You did the Zakaria. Ne, that is Zakaria, since some of ya. Though Natita Kriya, Yanaya Namalupene, sit like the Karavoli, Diao Chechi, don't shavi solution. Go to Masu Yuri, Pia to Napara. Through Chechi, Memian, don't shavo Yava, Las of Vido body. Without 1 young Nepoli. Pedu, Ginu. Not a level several Pelude, Sandari, and Pipia. Piece of Ginalote, Tileve, people leve, Sayadawgyi Tetamara. The Bushi, let's how can you Pogo, Rebecca, Lubares, Pravori, Nalebu. Nether Nalebu, she will. Billy de Tamale Sango, second name Malapoli. You did a don't show young body for you. Billy Begavoli, Lilin and Tama, they don't matter.
The monks have been instructing the yogis who come abroad, as Sayadawgyi mentioned earlier, as a relative. Sayadawgyi mentioned that we are all related on 3 levels, as Asian relatives, as world relatives, and as relatives in samsara. The Dhamma is that which lifts one up, which purifies one's existence. And in giving the Dhamma gift, Sayadawgyi wants to be related on a Dhamma level. So that is why he gives the Dhamma gift. He doesn't see it as teacher and student, but as one relative to another. And when one gives a gift, some things that are given are to be put away in a cabinet and just looked at. Some things are to be put away and only used from time to time. But some things are to be used right away. And the practice of satipatthana is something that the yogis should use right away and also to cherish. So one should work in 3 ways, as Sayadawgyi mentioned, to work respectfully, sakacakirya, and to work meticulously without taking a break, satachakirya, and to not let one's self stagnate, anatitakirya. So if one works in these ways, applying the gift of satipatthana every second, it will be worthwhile. Sayadawgyi's giving the gift. And then the giver will be delighted because he'll look and he'll say, oh, they're using what I gave them. And he'll feel very happy. The teachers will feel this way, and they will be very keen to give again. So the recipients of the gift need to understand this and use the Dhamma gift respectfully every second of the time. Sayadawgyi urges everyone seriously.
Kababoshi ludari ma the golong piana needed 3 lepa nung kong te yeji vare. 2 lepa nung kong pepeka voli. Asathaw le thati tha vare. 2 lepa nung kong le asasari yue sa vare. Thaitan thamya hluk sha mu le shi ya vare. Thaitan thamya anayi mu le shi ya vare. 2 lepa nung kong soပြီးတော့ဒါအမှန်ကရုဆက်ရမယ့်ကိစ္စပါပဲ2 lepa nung ကောင်းနေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ကိုယ်ကံအားလည်းပဲကောင်းနေတော့တောင်းယောဂမဝင်နိုင်ပါဘူးယောဂလည်းပဲကာကွယ်ရတယ်ဝင်လာတော့မှဒီယောဂဟာတာရှိမတည်နိုင်ဘူးခဏလေးပြောတာတချို့ယောဂတွေဆိုရင်စေမစားရပဲနဲ့တော့မပြောက်သွားနိုင်ပါတယ်ဒါလိုပါပဲဘုန်းကြီးတို့တွေရဲ့ဘဝမှာယောဂမျိုးစုံကဝိုင်းနေပါတယ်ကိုယ်နဲ့စတဲ့ကိုယ်ယောဂဝိုင်းနေတယ်လို့စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာပဲလေယောဂတွေကဝိုင်းနေတာပဲညဉ့်ညမ်းစိတ်ကိုညဉ့်ညမ်းစေတတ်တဲ့အားနဲ့ချိနဲ့စေတတ်တဲ့တရားစိုးတွေပေါ့လေရိုးလိုချင်မှုလိုရလွန်ကဲမှုတကူကောင်းဆံလောဘပြီးတော့စိတ်ပြည့်စိတ်ဆိုးမုန်းညွန့်မှုဒေါသအညှိုးထားမှုဒေါသမသိမှုမောဟမမနာကြည့်မှုမနာလုံးဝတူစသည်ပေါ့လေဒါကြီးယောဂတွေပဲစိတ်ယောဂတွေအဲ့ဒါတွေဖြည့်ဆည်းလာလို့ရှိရင်စိတ်နဲ့စိတ်ထားတွေဖောက်ပြုတ်ကုန်တာပဲယူတဲ့အထိလည်းရောက်သွားနေတာပဲတော်ဆိုးရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါတွေကိုဖယ်ရှားတဲ့နည်းစိတ်ယောဂတွေကိုဖယ်ရှားတဲ့နည်းလွန်ခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ပေါင်း2500ကျော်လောက်ကဘုရားကိုယ်တိုင်ရှာဖွေတွေ့ပြီးတော့ဟောကြားထားပါတယ် အဲဒီဟောကြားတဲ့အချက်တွေကိုယုံကြည်ကြည်နဲ့ကိုယ်အသုံးချလို့ရှိရင်အသုံးချမှုခွင့်ကြဖြစ်သွားလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုကအသုံးချမှုနဲ့အကျိုးရလဒ်ဟာခွင့်ကြတခါတည်းကိုသောကတကိုယ်ကြီးပေါ်လာမှာပါပဲနိလန်းသိပြီးတော့နိလန်းတိုင်းကျင့်သုံးမှုနဲ့အကျိုးရလဒ်ခွင့်ကြတဲ့တော့အဲ့လိုဖြစ်လာဆိုတစားအဲ့လိုဖြစ်လာတဲ့အခါမှာဓမ္မသွေးတွေဟာတနေ့တဲ့တနေ့ကြည်လင်ပြတ်သားပြီးတော့လက်ပါနှုတ်နဲ့ထူးခြားခြားကောင်းလာမှာပါပဲဒါတော့ရိုးရိုးသွေးလက်ပါနှုတ်ကောင်းအောင်လို့လိုအပ်တဲ့အကြောင်းတွေဖြစ်ရတယ်လို့စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာပေါ့လေတန်ရှင်းတဲ့သွေးတွေဝင်ဖို့ရအတွက်မတန်ရှင်းတဲ့သွေးတွေနေရာမှာတန်ရှင်းတဲ့သွေးတွေနဲ့အစားထိုးရအတွက်ကျိုးပန်းရတဲ့ကိစ္စဟာအရေးကြီးဆုံးကိစ္စတွေမှာပါပါတယ်မဖြစ်လို့မဖြစ်ဘူးဖြစ်ကိုဖြစ်ရမှာကိုယ်ရင်ဖြစ်ရမှာပါအချိန်မှဖြစ်ရမှာပါဓမ္မသွေးတွေဝင်သွားတဲ့အတွက်စိတ်တွေတန်ရှင်းပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်ရောနှုတ်ကောစိတ်နဲ့စိတ်ထားရောထိမ့်ထိန်စွာရှိသွားမှာပဲတဏှာရှိနေတဲ့ထိုင်တတ်တဲ့နေလေးတွေရပြီးတော့ဝိကျင်ကိုလည်းပဲဒုက္ခမပြေတော့ဘူးကြည်ရင်ကျင့်တဲ့လောက်သွေးအားတွေကဓမ္မသွေးတွေကပြန့်ထန်ပြီးတော့လေပါနှုတ်ကောင်းနေမှာပါပဲဓမ္မအဲ့ဒါလိုလုပ်တဲ့သဘောပါတော်ယုံတယုံနဲ့တော့ကိုယ်မှာသွေးလေပါနှုတ်မကောင်းနိုင်ပါဘူးတော်တော်ကြီးဂရုစားနိုင်မှာသွေးလေပါနှုတ်ကောင်းနေပါလေမတည့်တဲ့အစာတွေရှောင်ရှားပြီးတော့တဲ့တာတွေတင့်တာတွေကိုဒါတွေကိုဆောက်ပွားဖို့အရေးကြီးတယ်လို့စိတ်မှလည်းပဲဒီတိုင်းပဲမတည့်တာတွေရှောင်ရှားပြီးတော့တဲ့တာတွေကိုတကူမှအားတွေတဖြည်းဖြည်းပြေးလာလို့ရှိရင်ဓမ္မသွေးလေပါနှုတ်တွေကောင်းလာမှာပါပဲအဲဒီလိုကောင်းလာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကောင်းအောင်လုပ်တဲ့အစုဝေးကြီးဓမ္မမိသားစုကြီးလည်းပေါ်လာမှာပါပဲဓမ္မကဘာမှာအဲ့ဒီဓမ္မမိသားစုကြီးအသိအရေးကြီးနေပါလား
For the people of the world, blood circulation is important, and everyone needs to take care of themselves in order to have good blood circulation. So we take care with what we eat, we take care to get enough exercise, and we take care to get enough rest so that our blood circulation will be good. We have to take care for this to happen. And when our blood circulation is good, then we'll have good ability to resist disease. And if we do get sick, we'll be able to get better quickly. Sometimes we can even get better without taking any medicines. So for all of us, there are various kinds of diseases, physical disease, that surround us. And there's also mental disease that surrounds us. And these diseases make the mind dirty. They make the mind very sick. So there's lobha, just ordinary wanting, selfish greed, extreme greed. There's dosa, dissatisfaction, anger, resentment, hatred, delusion, not knowing, mana, pride, jealousy. So these are some of the diseases that are surrounding us. And if they enter into one's being, then they can make the mind very bad. So the Buddha preached a way to dispel mental disease over 2,500 years ago. And if we listen carefully how to apply this method, and if we listen carefully to apply this method, then it will bring results that are consistent with the practice. So the quality of the Dhamma as being well preached, svakata, will become evident when we apply it. And applying the practice of the Dhamma blood becomes clean. Day by day, our circulation improves. And this is very good. So just as we have to take care in our lives to make sure that our blood, our real physical blood circulates well so that we can be healthy, so too, in order for this clean blood of the Dhamma to replace the diseased blood in our being, we need to take care. This is an extremely important task. And as Sayadawgyi mentioned, this is something that is so important that it can't not be done. It has to be done. And it has to be done by ourselves, not by someone else for us. We have to do it in time and on time before it's too late, and regularly. And if the Dhamma blood enters into our being and circulates well throughout, then our physical, our verbal, and our mental behavior will become clean. And in that way, we won't cause any suffering to those around us, to the environment. So to the extent that we practice, our blood circulation will become good, our Dhamma blood. And as we have to avoid eating unsuitable food and remember to eat things that suit us, so too we have to remember to avoid what is unsuitable for us and put in that which is suitable. So doing this, if we all practice the Dhamma and develop the Dhamma blood, good healthy Dhamma blood, then the Dhamma family will arise in the world, and this is very much needed.
Dhamma tuiri lepa no kamu ya atwe. Nila li garo lwe li ba be. Ayu pogai si asai. Shikai mieswa laishu ba. Ayu pogai si asai ame. Si apaya. Ati polare auzi go sikli katwa au. Don't appear a Buddha don't appear. A young let don't appear to me. Shape you a little bit, don't appear at the Waga security shadow of Mayoya or Tipo Mave Yolia. She lowered at the water, young Lucy, Loish or Tapare. Man be the lower about it. Yet a day, Yachi. Bear Kama letter or kite to the Poo Nui, Bishop and Chaja, kite. Are you Pito? Are you Bordeaux? Are you Bordeaux? Are you to the Zaga? Show me your pure headed lava. Very Ionia, shoots here, Ionia. Shoots here, Ionia, Minute Kaita Hole, shoots here, Ionia. Messi Chida, who don't let yoga everybody. Miade Sen, Midi, me Kansara, Dariwa. The shoots here, Ionia. Here are the polar. အဲ့တော့မြင်မှုပေါ်ခဲ့ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ရပါတယ်အာယုပေါ်ခဲ့ဆိုတော့မြင်မှုပေါ်ခဲ့စိတ်အားစိုက်ရှိတ်ကိတ်မြဲစွာအားစိုက်ပါရှိဝဲစွာရှုမှတ်ပါအဲ့လိုပါတယ်မြင်နေရမှာကြားတတ်တဲ့လို့ရှိရင်ကြားမှုပေါ်ခဲ့စိတ်အားစိုက်ရှိတ်ကိတ်မြဲစွာရှုမှတ်ပါကြားဆိုတာနားရဲ့ကြားရတဲ့အတန်ရဲ့ကြားသိတာကြားတွေ့တာကြားခံစားတာရဲ့ဒါတွေပေါ့ဒါတွေဖြစ်နေပေါ့ဒါတကယ်ရှိအဟုတ်ရှိနေတာပဲဘုရားမြတ်စွာတေးသေးချာချာတကယ်ရှိအဟုတ်ရှိတဲ့ဟာကိုလေ့လာခိုင်းတာပါမရှိတဲ့ဟာကိုစိတ်ကူးနဲ့လုပ်တာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးမရှိတဲ့အရာကိုအစဖော်ခိုင်းတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးရှိတဲ့အရာကိုပဲတေချာသိရအောင်လို့မြတ်စွာဘုရားညွှန်ကြားတာပါပြီးတော့နာနဲ့ခိုက်တာနာနဲ့ခိုက်တာနှာခေါင်းနဲ့ရှူရတာကိုနှာခေါင်းနဲ့အနံ့ယူရတာကိုနှာခေါင်းရဲ့ဟိုကအနံ့ရဲ့နှာခေါင်းလည်းထင်ရှားတယ်အနံ့လည်းထင်ရှားတယ်နတ်တိတာလည်းထင်ရှားတယ်နာမှုဘောကဆရာဆိုင်ချိန်ခိုင်မြဲစွာရှုမှတ်ပါအစာနဲ့မကိန်းနေရတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကြီးအစာစားတဲ့ခါကျတော့အစာကိုလက်ခံဖမ်းယူနိုင်တော့တဲ့ရှာရှိတယ်ရှာအပြားကြီးပေါ်မှာအရသာတို့လက်ခံဖမ်းယူနိုင်တော့တဲ့ရှာအကြည်တက်ပေါ်ရှိတယ်မှာအစာစားထဲမှာပါလာတဲ့ချုပ်ချင်းစပ်ပါငံခါအရသာ6ပါးဒါလည်းရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒီအရသာ6ပါးရှာပေါ်ရောက်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ချိုတာလေးရောက်လာချိုမှသိတာရှင်တာလေးရောက်လာရှင်မှသိတာခါတာရောက်လာခါမှသိတာပေါ့လေအတိလေးတွေဖြစ်သွားတာဒါဘယ်သူမှမရှိဘူးလို့ညင်းလို့မရဘူးစိတ်ကူးလည်းမဟုတ်တကယ်လည်းရှိနေတာပဲတကယ်ရှိတာကိုတကယ်သိအောင်လို့မြတ်စွာဘုရားကလေ့လာခိုင်းတာပါပဲကိုယ်ကထိတွေ့တဲ့ခါမှလည်းရှိပါလားအသားရည်စုပ်ပြတဲ့နေရာဌာနမှာအကြည်ဓာတ်တွေကိုယ်အကြည်ဓာတ်တွေရှိပါလားအသားရည်6တွေ့တဲ့နေရာမှာလက်သေးပြားတို့ခြေသေးပြားတို့မှာတော့မရှိပါဘူးမပြတ်နိုင်ဘူးအဲ့ဒီမှာမာရနဲ့တွားကြည့်မာမှန်းသိတာပြောတာနဲ့ကြည့်လို့ရှိရင်ပြောမှန်းသိတာကျမ်းတာနဲ့ကြည့်လို့ကျမ်းမှန်းသိတာနုတာနဲ့ကြည့်လို့ရှိရင်နုမှန်းသိတာပူရာအေးတာပေါ်တာဒါနဲ့ထိတွေ့လို့ကြည့်ပူမှန်းသိအေးမှန်းသိတာဒါတွေပေါ့တောက်နာတင်းတာလှုပ်တာတွန်းတာကန်တာဒါတွေနဲ့တွားပြီးတော့ထိလို့ရှိရင်တောက်မှတင်းမှလှုပ်မှကန်ထားမှပေါ့ဒါတွေသိတာရုပ်တရားတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဒီကာပတ္တတာမှာထိခိုက်ပြီးတော့ပေါ်နေတဲ့ဟာကစာပြောလို့ရှိရင်ပထဝီတေဇောဝါယောပါပဲဒါပါပဲကျန်တဲ့ဟာတွေကထိလို့မရဘူးထိလို့ရစကောင်းနဲ့ဒီဖုတ္တပအတွေ့ရုပ်တွေကကိုကြည်တတ်ပုံမှာလာတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်လို့ရှိရင်မာလာတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်ရင်မာမသိတာပေါ့ပြောတာတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်ပြောမှသိတာပေါ့ကျမ်းတာတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်ကျမ်းမှသိတာပေါ့နုတာတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်နုမှသိတာပေါ့ပူရာအေးတာတောင်းတာပူရာအေးတာနှွေးတာဒါတွေတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်ပူမှသိနှွေးမှသိတာပေါ့အေးမှသိတာပေါ့တောင်းတာတင်းတာလာတွေတိုက်ခိုက်ပေါ်လို့ရှိတောင်းမှနေတင်းမှသိဒါတွေသိလာတာပေါ့ဓမ္မဒါအသိတွေဖြစ်နေတာပဲကိုယ်ကြည်တတ်မှာလာပြီးတော့တိုက်ခိုက်တဲ့အရာတွေမှန်သမျှဒါသိနေတာပဲစာရီပေတွေအထူးသင်တယ်မလို့ကလေးကအစပြောပြစကားနားလည်းရှိကလေးကအစပြောပြလို့ရတယ်ဓမ္မအရွယ်ရောက်တဲ့ကလေးတွေကအစအထုတ်လို့ရတယ်ဒီတရားစာရီပါတီသင်တယ်မလို့စာတတ်ဖို့လည်းမလို့ဒါတော့နားလဲလို့ရှိရင်အထုတ်လို့ရလားစိတ်ကူးစဉ်းစားကြံစည်မှုသိတာလည်းရှိတယ်တခါတခါမှခန္ဓာထိတွေ့တာလည်းထိသိတာလည်းမဟုတ်မြင်သိတာလည်းမဟုတ်ကြားသိတာလည်းမဟုတ်နာမ်သိတာလည်းမဟုတ်ရတာသိတာလည်းမဟုတ်စိတ်ကူးထဲမှာပေါ်လာတာပေါ့လေဒီမှာ မြင်တရားကြားတရားနာတရားစားတရားထိတရားဆိုတာပေါ့လေစိတ်ကူးရဲ့အမျိုးမျိုးဖြစ်ပါတယ်စိတ်ကူးရဲ့တရားကတော့စိတ်ကူးလေးတွေဖြစ်ရတရားကတော့အနောက်တိုင်းအလိုဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အုံနောက်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့အပိဓမ္မာကတော့နှလုံးသားထဲမှာအဲ့ဒီရိုးရိုးစိတ်ကလေးတွေပေါ့လေစိတ်ကူးစမ်းကြံစည်တဲ့စိတ်ကလေးတွေကြီးနေတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဒါတော့ထားပါတော့တရားဌာနရှိတယ်ပြီးတော့ရိုးရိုးစိတ်ဖြစ်စဉ်ကြီးရလည်းပဲနောက်စိတ်တွေဖြစ်ဖို့ရာအတွက်တရားအကြောင်းအနေနဲ့ထင်ရှားတယ်ဒါပြီးတော့မှသိမို့လို့ရှိရင်သိပါလိမ့်မယ်စိတ်ကူးရအာယုန်တွေကိုစိတ်ကူးယူလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်တကယ်မြင်ကြနာစထိတာမဟုတ်ပေမဲ့လို့မြင်တရားကြားတရားနာတရားစားတရားထိတရားအနေနဲ့တိနေတယ်အဲ့ဒီအခါမျိုးမှာလည်းပဲနာနဲ့ယုတ်တရားတွေတွဲဖက်ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နေတာဒါတွေမရှိဘူးလို့ဘယ်သူမှညင်းလို့မရဘူးတကယ်အရှိကိုအရှိတိုင်းသိရအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့မြတ်စွာဘုရားကကိုလေ့လာပါတဲ့ကိုသိအောင်လုပ်ပါတဲ့အခုတရားထုတ်တယ်ဆိုတာကကိုသိအောင်လုပ်တာပဲမိမိကဘာလဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေမိမိကိုယ်ထဲမှာဘာတွေရှိနေတယ်ဆိုတော့တကယ်အရှိတရားတွေကိုယုံနေတာတွဲဖြစ်နေပုံနဲ့အဲဒီယုံနာတရားတွေအချင်းချင်းအကြောင်းနဲ့ကျုပ်ဆက်ဆက်ပုံနဲ့ဒါတွေသိအောင်လေ့လာခိုင်းတာပဲဒီမှာသူရဲ့အမျိုးမျိုးပြောင်းလဲပုံနဲ့ဒါတွေသိအောင်လေ့လာခိုင်းတာပဲလေ့လာပါများလို့ရှိရင်ကြာတော့လေ့လာတဲ့စိတ်ကလေးဟာအညီကျေးတွေကင်းပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေမနေ့ကပြောသလိုဟိုနေ့ကပြောသလိုပေါ့လေမှန်များအချိုးကြတွေးလို့ရှိရင်အချိုးကြတွေးလို့ရှိရင်သူအချိုးကြပြီးတော့ပါဝါတွေဝင်လာတာပဲအနည်းကြီးမှန်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အနည်းမြင်နေလို့တဲ့ပါဝါတွေဝင်လာတာပဲအဝေးကြီးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အဝေးကြီးပါဝါတွေဝင်လာတာပဲတွေးတဲ့ပုံမှာတည်တာပါပဲဒီမှာခုံလေးခွက်လေးစသည်ဒါမျိုးတွေပေါ့လေဒီမှာအဲ့ဒါပဲအနည်းကြီးဆိုလို့ရှိရင် magnify ဆိုတာသူကလည်းသူပဲဒီမှာဒီတော့ပဂရိမျက်စိနဲ့မမြင်နိုင်တဲ့အရာကိုမျက်မှောက်အကူကြီးနဲ့သိဖို့ရအတွက်အမှန်ကိုတွေးရပါတယ်အချိုးကျတွေးရပါတယ်အချိုးကျတွေးတတ်လို့ရှိရင်ဒီထဲမှာအနည်းမုံမောမောလေးမြင်နေတော့အောင်ပါဝါရီကတဖြည်းဖြည်းတက်လာတာပဲဒီမှာအခုယောဂီတွေဟာကိုယ်တွေကမုံမောမောလေးတွေအစတကယ်ရှိတည်သိရအောင်လို့မလိုအပ်တဲ့ဟာတွေဖယ်ထုတ်နေတာပဲတွေးပြနေတာပဲလောဘဒေါသမောဟတွေကဒါတွေကဖုံးထားတော့တကယ်ရှိသဘောတွေဟုတ်တယ်မသိနိုင်ဘူးအဲ့ဒါတွေရှုမှတ်ပြီးတော့သွေးထုတ်ပြနေတာပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေကင်းမှာအဲ့ဒါတွေကင်းရင်ကြည်လင်းလာတဲ့အခါမှာအမြင်တွေရှိလာမှာပါပဲ
For the Dhamma to circulate well in our beings, the method is very easy. As soon as the object arises, aim, apply effort, observe steadfastly. So mental effort has to be present. One has to push the mind to reach the object, but not too much. One can't overdo it. The mind has to be pushed just enough to reach the object. So we use aiming in order for our effort to be proper. The push is needed to get the mind to the object and not elsewhere. And the aim is needed so that we don't miss. So when when do we do this? We have to do this at the present moment when the object arises. So here the word object, it means the thing which we are observing, the object of observation, that which can be observed. And in the moment of seeing, what can be observed is the eye base, the visible object, the thing seen. And then there's seeing consciousness, contact, and feeling. So when seeing arises, apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. Then too, in hearing, at the moment of hearing, apply effort, aim, and observe steadfastly. In the moment of hearing, there's the ear and the sound, which is heard, knowing the sound, contact, and feeling. These things are really there in the moment of hearing. Sorry. And because they're really there, the Buddha taught us to observe at the moment of hearing. When smelling arises, at the moment of smelling, apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. At the moment of smelling, there's the nose, there's the odor which is smelled, and there's knowing the smell, contact, and feeling, good or bad. These things are really there. And for beings who can't live without food, we have a tongue. And on the tongue, there are receptors that can capture the taste of food. So the tongue is, this receptor for food is something that is really there. And then in the food, there are flavors, 6 types of flavors: sweet, sour, bitter, salty, spicy, and bland. And whenever one of these tastes, if there's something sweet that touches the tongue, then one can know that sweet taste. There's contact and feeling. If something sour touches the tongue, then too there's knowing the sour taste. If something bitter touches the tongue, or salty, or spicy, or bland, there's knowing the taste, and there's contact and feeling. These are all there in the moment of tasting. And because they are there, the Buddha taught us to observe them. Touch can be felt any part of the body where there's moisture. The places which are dry, like the teeth or the hair, nails, those dry places don't have the capability of feeling. But any place where there's moisture, there's the capability of receiving touch. And what can be felt is soft, hard, roughness, gentleness, cold, heat, stiffness, tension, pulling, movement. So when, according to the text, in technical terms, the elements which form tangible objects are the earth element, that has hardness and softness, the element of temperature, which manifests as hot or cold, and the element of air, which is tension, movement, and so on. So these three elements combine to make tangible objects. And when something that is predominantly soft strikes the body base, then we know softness. When something is hard and strikes the body base, then we know the hardness. When something hot, we know the heat. When something cold, predominantly cold, strikes the body base, then we know the coldness. When warmth strikes the body base, we know warmth. When there's something predominantly stiff striking the body base, we know stiffness. When something tense strikes the body base, we know tension. So one knows whatever tangible object touches the body base. And this is very simple. One doesn't need to have a lot of learning to be able to understand this, to be able to practice this, and to be able to speak about it. Even a child can describe this sort of thing, and a child can meditate. So just knowing like this is enough. One doesn't need a lot of learning. So when knowing something, a mental object, is not like the previous ways of knowing, when it's more a nature of the mind takes an object that is, it seems like we are hearing, it seems like we are smelling, tasting, touching, and so on, but we're not really. It's an imaginary object. And people think that where this knowing of imagination or knowing things in the mind, Westerners think that this happens in the brain. But according to the Buddhist literature, it takes place in the heart. This is the base for mental objects to arise. And one mind moment follows another. So in that way, at this point, we don't really, when taste, smells, touches, and so on occur in the mind, we aren't really smelling, tasting, touching, and so on, but we know as if we are. And in this moment, mind and matter are occurring. So we can't deny that these things are happening, that these things are really there. Because it is there, the Buddha said, to know this, observe, what am I? What is in me? What is in us is nama and rupa, mind and matter. And these are related as cause and effect. They change in various ways. And if we examine this a lot, if we observe this a lot, the mind becomes clean. And as Sayadawgyi spoke about the other day, when we grind a lens, its magnifying power can be increased. And we can grind a lens so that we are able to see things that are very far away. We can also see things that are very, very small and see close up, much more closely than we could with our ordinary eyes. So when we want to see what we can't see with our ordinary eyes, we have to have a lens that is properly ground. And then there will be enough magnifying power in the lens. We will be able to see. So grinding has to be properly done. And this is what we try to do in the practice. For this, the yogis are practicing. And as we improve our ability to see, we have to get rid of the factors which cloud the mind. We have to get rid of lobha, dosa, and moha. Moha covers over what is there. So we eliminate these factors through the practice, and the mind becomes clean, and then one will be able to see.
Panditarama Sayadaw, the Tashina Sikleri, the Kuna who sits up below Taka Lunia Vadire, Peter Mashu, 3 views. Some would say Tazara Time. Poya lady, Porum was them how the piece of one charger. As I pay it a PM woman. You as you pay it or say I fego chwo. A little in Alice to Lenago. Boray, I will my penny, she since I give what is a clear. Tashina City Pamela, but Tashina City Pamela. Tashina Sekli Pinida, Eddie Tashina Sekli, the Kunetu Sesabido, Arco, Pilote, the Wawa, English energy volume. The Manesu, second about Chelsea, the lady. The second at the Jinjasu, the Manesu, Tashina Sekli, Jimo Chelsea. The second at the Jinja to owner. The Manema so ye, Tashina Secretary, Jimon the Pidore, Pedro to you about it. But what Tashina Secretary Pion lonely at he say, as I would say, thank you, no payment, no door. The D left chiller about it. The D of Chipperman Evo. The D pillar Lucy says him. Yamuli Moya or Dua Gargoyeli paid her. Pay so her. How am I? Lower level, daughter level, you did it well. As I beat a chain that guy, Malu, Seclia Money Ayuma, Catalo, Ediboman, Saja, daughter, Edith Maria. Kanika the Marie called her. Eddie the Marie left it, or Eddie the Marie Pide Kama. Say a piano from Dwabu. The Niarema Sigli Suzu Sisi Pietore, something the Nazara Valley. Other look we about it. But a Makaitan or Dalabe. That day ye. Edo Tomatoma Twima, Eddie in Azuli, Padwabi, Mimia say, Sinzajibo. Tashina Secretary, Chain Pidora. No that Chemalogy, Tashina say, Nache. No that deliver Malogy, Tashina Secretary, Don't Jay, Chimomia. Say, Tashin, Sini say, Tolly Tashin. Edo Solici, Piosia, Kayasia, Picana. We are touching a city lemshu, Dodama Poro. Manalo to Murelemshu city. To be a nina or Lenin lemshu. Lovari Kene, Soro, to maybe see by Sijanam Shu. Kamatonja Janet to the Warrior Kenny. Kujo Gaviro, Lenin Kenny. Now, the Yanni Pilla Visolochi, Muisu, Malavu, so that Miela, a Jomishi, Matina, the Leve, the Fivi, Champagne, she, a Joshi, a Jomia, the lady Yitilla, Tilla, Secretary Susi Pedalo, Ari Kona, Visolochi, Argonushi, Kilita, Roma. I do not know that the Lundu Waloma Gogo, a Tazine, and now you get it. Kilita, go up Yamido, don't have any. Dagama, the Kate told her, yes, Sepa. Dago told Hayama, Dago Yasayama. There is a Lucy and the Koyi on work, and Dama to get on work over the man. Sydney Tashi, Peking, Kongi, Mamma Poya, Mulota Malushi, Eddie Tashina Secretariat. Mamma ye, Tashina say social, whatever. Manaye, Tashina say Pina. Popo says a lolo she, Matashina say the Pimia, Tashina say the social, whatever. Ladies as a lolo she, Tashina say the Sumi Samira.
So at the start, what we are trying to do is to make our mind clean, second after second. So to do this, we observe every arising object, always applying effort. So when we apply effort to observe the arising object, then laziness can't enter the mind. When we aim the mind, then it doesn't slip off. And we should think then, well, what is the mind like? At that moment, is the mind clean or not? The mind at that moment is clean. So what we have to do is to make this mind occur one after another so that we can build up our energy. And in 1 minute, there's 60 seconds. But if we don't calculate at the rate of one observation per second, if we just use one observation every other second, still, in 1 minute, that's 30 times per minute. So if we calculate in this way, that is 30 times in a minute that we are making the mind clean. So first of all, this is what we need to do, to make the mind clean. And after that, sati will occur later. It can't help but occur. It will definitely arise. And sati protects the mind from the defilements. It guards the mind. It blockades the mind so that lobha and dosa, greed and anger, can't arise. And with the help of aim, then sati sticks to the object and the mind becomes collected. So when the mind is collected, this is khanika samadhi, momentary concentration. And with khanika samadhi, the mind doesn't scatter. The mind is collected. This is called sampendana in Pali. So at the first, this is very important. So in every noting, then with these energies present, the mind is clear. And the next moment of observation, the mind is clean. Third moment of observation, the mind is clean. So one after another, the mind and the mentality are clean. So at that moment, the mind is free of fault. It's blameless. There's no desire to kill arising because there's no anger, there's no desire to kill or harm. There's no desire to lie in order to harm others. And because no greed can arise, there's no thoughts of stealing, no thoughts of committing adultery, no thoughts of lying for one's own selfish benefit. And when knowledge arises, then one understands that use of alcohol and drugs is not beneficial. So in this way, we become well-tamed and well-cultured. To the extent that the mind becomes collected, then energy develops. And in doing this, one gets the better of the defilements. If one can continue to do this, one can gain the upper hand over the defilements for the rest of one's life. And this is true revolution. This is a real victory when one gains this type of victory over the defilements. So this practice makes the mind clean, and this is very good. If we don't note, then we don't gain these energies in each moment. When we observe and collect the mind and develop these energies, then with every moment of observation we are gaining.
As lo malone na lo shi yin a shi malone hu so lo shi yin lo pi me lo po po sa sa lo ni yu ti ti malone hu so lo shi yin do Nago Nivarana Diari or Pinija Diari. Domisana Nivarana, Javara Nivarana, Lova Dodari. Pin to the Nivarana, Pianwin and Nivarana. Pero Mio Weavan Twitter at Nivarana. You were not a handari. Tachina say they go to a handada. We saw that the Azuri through Pila Lucia, the Tachina go to say Picumiero. Pina doubly garanazra only. Question safe shall be a Timian, a deep pina will ever. Anne Pilu at the Azuri to read. Through that hollow to get Madiari Madeira. I was Shumapa Mialo, Sigil Secretary Pilla Resolution. Parma, a team of Chena, oh no. Kudo Diago, Peso, Handata, Teazuri, or Canada, at Amiapa. The Chachi Amiatra. But was over the Shia Badira. Era di scelo si no pai ma pawari wana ra se po de no pe ti la ro ra ba ba da ri kin twa lo chi sai ha achiu ja la ro kwin ja phit la ro no mo ba le ya sa a kon lo ti la da be ai di ti ya no ma ti ya a ti ba a thu chi ma ti nai bu twi kho ti da ga de ge ko be ti mo ba de ge le Ashi Diago, Dayatira Mobo, a chair, Pompana, Dalotira. Mamlu Chilu, Miana Levada, Koba, Timobo, Mamlu, Guna Tira. Agoga, Eddie Mamalu, Magni Finer of Povidova, a Mietana Taparetama. Hello, Josara, a Josaloche. Sydney Tashin, King, County, Mamma, Sydney Tashin, Lame, Kaling Jove. Now the says a bit of young and you, Johnny Joe, Dio, Mamma, Zarabali. Young and Tilame, Tayo Dia Dan and Diazarabali. Quite a bit of Tilama. Change a Joe, Nino, a bit of people, lady or level. Now the same over the Tila Tapati, didn't have money, Tave. Amalo from low Mamievo. The manetama set for a good amount, taint her champion here. The unit who set her away. The unit who teach at neither Jarima Pomo. And any hard all the chain, and any high and any woman, Mamma woman. They had all the shit, little jobs, yet the Kunet who to my correct her see, son. Pongum women. It are the Paki, being valid at the Kunet who says that Bobby Solution. Pomo in the law. Madia let the Kunet who says that Bobby Solution, Kilita, Po, Peroma, Momo. The Vivi Tanshela, that is a Hasi lived it wine of women, that is a that is the water quality, Tina Levito, Yogi. Longa Ibioji, Chala Tabito, Chala Chenima. Go ma, Amiedame, Yuna Navio, Bounce of it, Pinida, that is a Ipioniro, Yuna Pinida, Tabina Matilo go, Ipioniro. No need a cover of theatre, Maya Mave. Moya Mati I was a Pion of it. Chidamar Galushi, I say I short with other. Did you ask I Piro, Pian Bueno, Chida Gai Piro, say I short with daughter with ma. The Patomazo, a Pian Bueno, say Chom Trofuya, a dread. Nimujamu Sachi, the Podamia Iron, Lingy body iron, Punune body, Picate body, Pinne Doma body. Sickly cut bubble. Dead cut bubble that they eat. Darakubashi, the Yogi Madin, Bama Lufumulo. Mamma lo, tu vado più la davvero. Una mantuede lo voli. Power tin, power yola davvero tu vado bene. Se che le tu power yola davvero. Na goga senza ne già poco di senza ma tignan sole. Io so uscire poco di ero. Per lo che ato pa, tala ato nala ato. Se cube ya ma be, di le tu non mi ha. Di lo ti kaitan le ma ro, na goga se culo. Se kuma tignan si piette suele di voli. Tanne so più travi do voli. Diga Sui mio conte oni ne voli. Se ne pao na thong nga ja lo ga Buddha pho thok khai deတရားကိုပေါ့လေကိုယ်ကလည်းလက်ခံယုံကြည်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့အလုပ်လည်းလုပ်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ပေးတဲ့လက်ဆောင်ကောင်းကိုပေါ့လေရိုသေသေးသုံးပေါ်ရတော့ဘုန်းကြီးတို့တွေလည်းပဲသိဝန်တာရမှာပါပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုနီးနဲ့ဝန်တာကျင်ပါတယ်ဒီတော့နိုင်ငံတကာကလာရောက်ပြီးတော့အထောက်ကြတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များအခုဘုန်းကြီးတို့ကတကယ်ကိုမေတ္တာကရုဏာထားပြီးတော့လေထက်ထက်တန်စေရနာနဲ့တိုက်တွန်းတဲ့အချက်တွေကိုလေးစောစောနာယူပြီးတော့ဖြစ်ခိုက်ရှုမှတ်အာယုံပေါ်ကစိတ်အားဆိုင်ချိန်ကြိုင်မြဲစွာရှုမှတ်ပါဆိုတာမိမိတို့ရဲ့တာဝန်ကြီးအောင်ကြိုးစားနိုင်ကြပါစေလို့လေးလေးနဲ့တိုက်တွန်းရတဲ့ဒီနေ့တရားဆုံးသတ်လိုက်ပါတယ်
If one can't do the practice, or if one can't do it at all, if one can do it but not carefully, then there are qualities that we have tendencies towards: kama chanda, sense desire, anger, doubt, restlessness and remorse, and extreme laziness. These qualities block the clean mind. These are obstacles to concentration, and if these enter the mind, then the clean mind can't arise. And they weaken knowledge. So these nivaranas, these obstacles to the clean mind, are very bad. If one observes a lot, even though no knowledge has arisen yet, one is free of these qualities, these nivaranas. So one has to clear these away. If one can clear them away, then the mind becomes accurate. The mind is able to focus accurately on the object, and then one is able to see what is there. So one can't know like this right from the start. So, and if people think that they can, if people think that they can just know directly without developing these qualities, without clearing away the nivaranas and so on, how they are knowing is in a way that involves thinking. It's what they know is involved in the level of manner and form, not direct knowledge yet. So, as Sayadawgyi mentioned with the example of the magnifying glass, when the glass is ground to have more power, then one can see. And when the mind becomes clean, then this is very good, when it becomes free of the obstacles to concentration. So, when one is able to clear the mind of the nivaranas and make the mind clean, then knowledge will begin to arise, and one will see that there is mind and matter. And from that point, one will see how mind and matter are related as cause and effect. All one needs to do is observe, to make one's notings consecutive. So one should think about things the way, one should try to make one's notings to be touching one right after another, the way these floorboards on a parquet floor are. When there's no gap between the floorboards, then dust can't get in. So when there's a gap, however, then dust gets in, and it's very hard to clean. So it's important for the mind to be clean 1 second after another. So here, these floorboards, they're touching each other and they're stuck together with glue. So if in a similar way our mind can be occurring one right after another, this clean mind of observation, then the dust of the kilesas can't get in between, in the gaps between our observation. If there is a gap where we're missing, then the kilesas are sure to get in. So, understanding this, except for when one is fast asleep, there is always nama rupa happening. So, of course, it's happening when we're asleep too, but we can't observe it when we're asleep. But when we are awake, we need to be trying to observe every second of the time. So without any effort, then laziness will enter our mind stream. And without any aiming, the mind will slip off the object. So conversely, with aiming, there will be no laziness. With effort, there will be no laziness. And with aiming, the mind won't slip off. So at the start, for this to happen, whatever object arises, we have to apply effort, aiming, and look steadfastly, observe steadfastly. And this is like grinding the glass on a lens, that as we do it, the power increases. So for those who think that thinking is the way to know, if one tries to employ thinking in this, one will not be able to develop the practice. So if you have that habit of thinking and analyzing, please try to put it aside completely as much as you can. Put it aside for the time being. So, because as a good relative, Sayadawgyi is trying to teach you what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. And if you will accept and use this gift respectfully, then he will be very happy. And he would like to be happy in this way. So for the teachers here, they speak with true loving kindness and compassion. So as soon as the object arises, make effort, aim, and look carefully. So Sayadawgyi urges all of you to practice and use the Dhamma gift every second of the time. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.